Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Angie, and I'm with Producers XL. And thank you for joining us today. We are very excited. There is lots of chatter out there in the long-term care industry about the new launch of a new product from National Guardian Life. Good news is National Guardian Life is not new to the long-term care space. We're just getting a new version of their long-term care to bring forward to you. And I want to introduce Mike Simonstad with National Guardian Life. He's going to join us. He's going to go through the PowerPoint, visit about the product and all the exciting things that are coming out. This is recorded. Once it's out there, I'll also put it out on our website, which is producersxl.com, as well as you'll get a follow-up email with that recording. The chat is open, so if you would like to pose any questions as we go, feel free to throw them in there as you think about them. We'll kind of, as Mike takes some breaks and pauses, I'll throw out any questions that you might have. So with that, Mike, I want to thank you for joining us, and I will turn this over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Angie. Thank you very much for having me. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and start talking about National Guardian's Life's NGL's new long-term care product. So it's called HonestLTC. It's been in the works for a while now, and it's NGL's second generation traditional long-term care product. To tell you about what you need to know as far as what states it's available, let's start there. So this product was launched in the following states that you see on the screen. There are 34 states, all the compact states, with the exception of a few, and they were launched on February 13th. So, just about a week ago. This is a brand new product, and this product takes the place on a state-by-state basis of the existing EssentialLTC product. So, for those people in these states that wanted to, or you're interested in the EssentialLTC product, meaning the existing older product, and really the only reason you would one would apply for that is because it still has an unlimited benefit period, right? The unlimited benefit period is going away with HonestLTC. More on that in a little bit. But that's the main reason people would want to apply for EssentialLTC. So, in the states that you see on the screen, EssentialLTC will be available. Basically, it's your last chance down to the wire to sell it. Applications need to be backdated on 2/12 or earlier, and those applications must be received at NGL by this Friday, February 27th. So really, it's the last call for EssentialLTC. Well, I gotta tell you, we haven't seen a whole lot of people apply. Just a handful of people wanting unlimited benefits because we think the improvements with the new product have been pretty compelling, especially with the minimal increase in price. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Additionally, for your policyholders that may have an existing policy in place, and as long as they applied for that policy on May 1st, 2025 and beyond, we are offering a 60-day guaranteed issue offer to exchange their EssentialLTC to HonestLTC. So there's no underwriting at all. However, an application does need to be completed, even the health portion. But again, that's just a formality. there is no actual underwriting if someone wants to make an exchange. All right. So for policyholders who purchased a plan before May 1st, 2025, it's like applying for a new policy. Underwriting would be required. So, as we're going forward, additional state launches are going to look just like this one, right? It's going to be a 2-week transition from Essential to Honest, with a 60-day offer to exchange policies on a guaranteed issue basis. Again, as long as they bought their policy on May 1st, 2025 and beyond. So those are, basically the housekeeping items about the transition to Honest LTC. So let's dive in to the product. And the good thing about this product is it keeps, right, all the unique aspects that differentiated National Guardian Life from the other long-term care carriers out there. So, for example, and I'll go over, the main differentiators or selling points. It still keeps that joint pricing for couples, right? So, one unique thing about NGL long-term care insurance is that for a husband and wife, even though they each have their own pool of money, it's one premium for two people. It's a blended rate. That the end result of that is a really, really competitive product especially for a couple. Now, a byproduct of having joint pricing for couples, right, a single premium for a husband and wife, is it has built-in joint waiver of premium, meaning as long as one spouse needs care, for example, needs home health care, then that entire premium is waived. So that's pretty attractive, and that's built in. Honest LTC will keep the shared benefit amount rider. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with, again, this very unique rider, what it does is provide tangibly more benefit dollars in the form of a third pool. Now, there are carriers out there that have a shared rider, and the vast majority of the cares of the products out there that offer that shared benefit rider, what it does is that builds a bridge from one pool to the other, right? From his, her to her pool. So if one spouse were to deplete all of his or her benefits in long-term care, well, then that spouse can start using his spouse's benefits, right? But here it's different. Rather than building a bridge between the two pools, the NGL shared benefit amount rider creates a third pool, and the amount of that third pool is equal to each spouse's pool, and it increases with whatever inflation option you have. So that's a really nice because it's tangibly more benefit dollars. So when I show you the premiums, I'll show you, and you'll be able to see how the power of that third pool is pretty persuasive. All right. Also, like the previous generation product, we will still have the 10-pay option for premium payment purposes. So, Honest LTC will have a life pay option and the 10-pay option. Now, there's a little bit of a difference on this. With Essential LTC, the 10-pay option, the rates were guaranteed for the full 10 years, which was the absolute intent with Honest LTC. We filed for a 10-year rate guarantee, just like for the 10-pay option and for the life pay option. However, now the compact states will not allow traditional long-term care products to have rate guarantees longer than 5 years. So So with HonestLTC, we have the 10 pay. The rates are guaranteed for 5 years. However, the rates for the life pay option are also guaranteed for 5 years. And again, the intent was, 10 years. We actually don't anticipate raising rates at all, but because experience has been, very, very good. And again, more on that in a little bit, but it is a contractual 5 year rate guarantee for both the 10 pay option and the life pay option. Benefit periods. And like I said earlier, everything remains the same here. We have benefit periods of 2 years, 3, 4, 5, and 6 years, but no more unlimited benefit. Which actually it turns out to be kind of a good thing. And again, when you see the pricing examples that we'll review, one of the main reasons why we were able to keep the pricing with HonestLTC very, very similar to the existing product is because we've somewhat de-risked the product by not offering an unlimited benefit period. So by eliminating the unlimited benefit period, which no one really bought anyway, um, but by eliminating it, we were able to de-risk and offset any necessary increase in pricing for this new product. So it really is good news. Elimination periods will continue to be 90 and 180 days. And of course, we will continue to offer the first day home and community care rider. So when those that need home health care don't even have to worry about an elimination period. And again, a little bit more on that because the pricing for that rider has become a lot more competitive. All right. So, what is new? What are the enhancements with HonestLTC? Well, I kind of put them under three categories, with I think the most important one being the ability to maximize uh, staying at home. That's why I like to call this stay at home insurance. It really is. The vast majority of long term care insurance claims is paid as home health care. And that's what people want, right? The type of person that's going to really consider a traditional long term care solution, right, which is pure protection, is going to be the person that went through their own long-term care event with a loved one and realize that a long-term care event, a full long-term care situation, can be really, really tough to manage, especially when you're trying to stay at home, which is what most people want. So with that, we maximized our I'll call home health care insurance in that rather than a daily benefit, now we have a monthly benefit. So daily caps have been eliminated. This new product offers a monthly benefit anywhere from $1,500 a month to $12,000 a month. The previous product offered daily benefits of 50 a day to 300 a day. And obviously, 300 times 30 was 9,000. So we actually we lengthened or actually enriched the monthly benefit a little bit more too. So you now go up to 12,000 a month for a monthly benefit. And monthly benefits are important because sometimes for home health care it's tough to schedule what type of care services you need on certain days of the week. It's not all even throughout a calendar week, and having that monthly benefit really does help curtail any out-of-pocket costs for the family. Um, Secondly, we improved how we calculate our elimination period. Gone is the service day elimination period, meaning 1 day of a service counts toward 1 day off your 90-day elimination period, for example. We now have the classic version of a calendar day elimination period, which is defined as this, right? So as long as one receives at least 1 day of a service in a calendar week, That is 7 days, right? 7 calendar days deducted from that one-time elimination period. So again, it's called a calendar day EP, but I understand some people may, due to terminology, think it's something else. How it works is one day, as long as you receive at least one day of a service in a week, that counts as 7 calendar days deducted off that one-time elimination period. All right, so that's a big improvement over a service day elimination period. Now, another thing we wanted to do with this product was really reach the middle market a lot better. And, an argument could be made that the industry as a whole has been doing a fairly, not so great job with that. And, we all know that traditional long-term care, for those that are looking for just protection, right? Pure long-term care protection as opposed to a multifunctional insurance solution. Well, traditional long-term care insurance provides the most bang for the dollar. Um, Now, with that, I think the industry has done a not so great job of leveraging the state partnership program. Right now, many of you may realize what that is. What that is many states allow that if you have traditional long-term care insurance and it's partnership certified, then you get additional Medicaid asset protection on the back end in the event you should deplete your long-term care policy. So the spirit of that partnership program, what it was meant to do is make a lower benefit, lower cost long-term care policy more attractive to the middle market. And many states now allow, in fact, I think there are about 30 that allow 1% or 2% inflation to be partnership eligible, right? So for a long, long time, you had to have 3% or 5% compound inflation coverage. And that's really all that NGL offered anyway. So now we are increasing our offering of inflation options to include 1%, 2%, and 4%. So more inflation options with an eye on being able to create a customized plan for the middle market, meaning more affordable plans, and it really gives you the chance to start speaking about the partnership program and the power of just having some sort of plan in place. So we're pleased about that. Let me talk about a few more, I will say, client-friendly benefits. The first one being we now have a 5% partner discount for individual applicants. So as I said earlier, one hallmark of NGL is having that built-in joint rate for couples. Well, what if you have a couple, someone who's part of a couple or part of a partnership, and the spouse is unable to apply, doesn't want to apply, ineligible to apply? Well, we now, as long as you're part of a partnership, you do not have to be married, right? As long as you're part of a partnership and a committed relationship and under one roof, you now get a 5% discount to make the pricing all the more attractive. Um, Here's another one that I really like, especially because I'm doing a lot of quotes all day, especially on our quick quote website, which I'll share with you in a second. Rather than the old product that had used age nearest birthday, which is always a pain in the neck, it's now based on age last birth date. Furthermore, if there is an age change, we will automatically keep, if there is an age change within the last 30 days, we will automatically keep that earlier age. So you have an automatic 30-day grace period for for age changes that occurred within 30 days. So that's nice. And then finally, to address emerging trends that may not exist yet in the long-term care delivery system, we now have an alternate plan of care feature, which really is just contractual language that gives us an avenue to cover things that don't really exist yet in the long-term care delivery system, things that are, outside the defined scope of the policy. So that's always nice to have as well.
Hey, Mike, before you move on,
Yes.
I I feel like this one page right here, I hope everyone on this call is really excited about this. I mean, we could almost outside, I know you're all very excited to see the pricing on this, but we could stop right here. And this is enough that you should be really excited. And I'm sure I will get lots of quote requests to say, let's take a look at Honest LTC. I mean, a monthly benefit, right? So now we're going to compete with everybody else out there because we know monthly is better. And keep in mind, I know I'm going to get the question. It says stay at home. Does that just mean home health care is monthly? When you're in a facility, a nursing home or assisted living facility, by default, you're there every day, right? So that
Yeah.
is a monthly. So just to clarify that, the calendar day is fantastic, but juiced up calendar day. So did you catch that Mike said 1 day equals 7? So it's not that you have to be receiving, like you receive care on Monday and then they count Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 1 day is 7. So you don't have to worry about them picking up another day somewhere in the week. You have 1 day of week of care. You've now satisfied that entire week. So that's a really, really cool thing. And I love the customizable inflation options because not many people shoot for the 5%, but please know on this webinar, right, it has to be offered. NAIC regulations, you have to offer a 5%, but you will actively reject the 5% if you don't want it. But now being able to actually see something different, the 1, 2, 3, who knows? I mean, you may be selling to some clients that are in their 40s and they need to lock something in, but there are some budget constraints. This is fantastic to be able to meet people where they are. And again, puts National Guardian Life right in the mix. And I mean, hallelujah, we actually now get a discount just for being in a relationship. We don't have to say, oh, well, that's where the difference is in the pricing. And the actual age is fantastic, right? No more rolling them forward or explaining why you're seeing an illustration. And then your customers go, but wait, I'm not really 57 yet. I'm only 56. I love everything about this thus far. And I am super excited to see when you actually get into some more of our pricing. So this is great. This is like being at the state fair and you're watching the Ginsu knife guy say, "Hey, wait, but there's more." So keep going,
Yeah.
Mike.
Oh, thanks, Angie. Yeah, we're pretty excited about this. And again, I think a key thing is the pricing, which I'm going to show you right now. So this is a pricing example of Honest LTC versus, just a couple of the leading traditional carriers out there. And a good thing, really traditional long-term care. And you know what, I should start by saying now is I think a great time to be in long-term care planning because there's literally a solution for just about everyone, right? This is just traditional long-term care insurance. I mean, like I said earlier, there are asset-based solutions, annuity-based solutions. There's a solution for everyone. There's even short-term care for people that are in substandard health. However, traditional long-term care insurance is making a comeback, and I know of two other carriers that are just starting to re-enter the market, which is going to bring the number of carriers up to 12, which is great. Um, so, without further ado, this actual chart shows a same age couple, right? Now, keep in mind that is NGL sweet spot. Couples that are, close in age, especially same age with that blended rate. The benefits shown here are 3 years, $4,500 a month, 3% compound inflation, and that shared care rider. Now, when you look under the lifetime maximum column, you'll notice because this comparison has each carrier's uh, shared benefit option on there. The other two carriers have that bridge plan, meaning if for their shared care rider, meaning if you were to need care, deplete yours, well, you can access your clients. Remember how I said with NGL, we have a third pool of money, tangibly more benefit dollars, right? So there's a difference with the benefit dollars you have available there. So you get a third more benefit. And because of NGL's very competitive blended rate, the overall pricing at many ages, and again, this is our sweet spot, right? So number one, the number one sweet spot are couples, especially couples close in age. It's going to be really tough to beat the value, and in many cases, it's more benefit dollars, a third more benefit dollars for less overall premium. Right. And again, you may ask, well, how is NGL able to do this with, add the enhancements? And, normally when you see a carrier come out with a new product, you see rate increases or, new pricing that's, 17, 20, 25% more. Here, for the vast majority, for at least I will tell you, under the age of 70, it's only about 3 to 7% more, and that's with all the enhancements we just went over.
Hey, Mike.
One,
Oh,
yes, yes.
sorry. One other thing I wanted to add here. So if you're in the middle of the country, right? This quote that Mike is showing you, 4,500 a month, 3 years, 90-day, 3% shared care, right? That's pretty well that's a go-to quote. Does it cover 100%? No. Do people buy coverage to cover 100%? Again, no. Not even on the hybrid space. But a couple of things I've always said, and on the shared care rider with National Guardian, this is how I explain it. His, hers, ours. So he gets 324, she gets 324, we get 324. And so that 486 is basically taken half of the 324 as if you're going to split in half the third bucket. If I lost you there, don't worry, call me, we'll go over it. Another thing I like to tell people is everybody, when you're with a consumer and you're sitting with your client, especially if the client has brought up the conversation, what's really eating in their mind is they're waiting for you to confirm what they've been told by friends, that long-term care insurance is expensive. They're waiting for you to validate that. And I've always said at the younger ages, so 55 and younger, stay with me here, what one person buys in a monthly benefit is equal to a joint premium for the couple. So 4,500 a month, one person in this illustration, the premium's either 4,300 or 5,000. So you can ballpark, and then as they obviously 60, 65, it gets higher, which we would all expect that to happen. But this is a great way when people are they're waiting for you to tell them that it's going to cost them $13,000 and they're 55 years old and the kids are out of the house, the mortgage is paid, they're looking forward to retirement. This is a great way for you to ballpark for them what that looks like. And this is honestly this is what people are buying, especially like I said, in the middle swath of the country. You go to the coastlines, obviously you go to Hawaii, Alaska, or but cost of care is way more expensive there as well. This fits perfectly from the top to the bottom of the country in the middle swath. I love this illustration because it allows you to be able to have that and start that conversation and debunk that idea that, nah, long-term care, this stuff's way too expensive. How can that be expensive when it's pennies on the dollar, the leverage you're getting out of this? We've not even taken into account that 3% compound is going to double in 24 years. those clients that are 50 and 55 will absolutely see these benefits double before they get to claim age. Okay, Mike, sorry. Go right
Oh,
ahead.
no, thank you. No, you make a very, very good point. I like that rule of thumb you used as well. I think that's fantastic. Um, to move on, I did mention earlier that the 0 day elimination period for home care is going to be an attractive option, and here's why. Um, because we no longer have a service day elimination period, right? It's now that 1 equals 7. That makes the 0 day elimination period for home care cheaper. And in this example, with NGL, the price for that rider, which used to be 25% more with Essential LTC, it's now 10%. So it was cut more by more than one half. All right. So there are a lot of people, right, that again, the type of person that is looking at traditional long-term care insurance is concerned about one thing, right? Just long-term care. Maybe it makes sense to start showing, because the price of it has been drastically reduced. Maybe it does make sense to start showing first day coverage for home care. And by the way, if there is a claim and someone does start receiving care on day one, as long as they receive at least 1 day of care in a calendar week, right? Again, they're covered on day one. They're receiving payments. But if they need to go into a facility later on down the line, those days in which care is given on a 1 equals 7 basis do count toward a subsequent elimination period if they need to go into a facility. All right. So a very, very good deal. And we do think, and this was, on purpose, NGL really, has a philosophy that, listen, for someone that is a customer for pure protection, well, we need to make it available on an affordable basis to be able to get first day coverage in the home. So
Hey,
I
Mike,
wanted to show you, yes.
on your illustrations, this is fantastic. I mean, what a great option to add on these. Something that honestly we probably quit showing, right? Because it was such a hit to the premium and we were kind of, you know, struggling to get over the price objection, even though it does bode lots of value. Just another thing to comment on, and you may be getting to this. You're seeing the underwriting classes up there, Premier, Select, and Standard. Those are equal rate classes. National Guardian Life has one rate class, your Premier, right? And they're going to take into account. I mean, Select and Standard, that he's actually showing you apple to apple rate class by rate class. It's just what they each call their rate classes. And one other thing, Mike, when you were showing NGL on the previous slide, you don't have to go back to it, but when you were showing that, keep in mind, National Guardian Life has joint waiver of premium. Those are additional riders that you have to add to most other contracts if you want to waive premium for both when one goes on claim. So I mean, there's a lot of value in this. Not even getting into the whole what happens when one dies and they have shared care and what do they pick up from that? I mean, these are significant. I mean, kudos to NGL for going to the drawing board on this. You guys came out of the garage with a really, really nice contract.
Thank you, Angie. Yeah, we're really happy about it, and we've been getting a lot of really positive feedback. So going ahead, I wanted to show also, and then I'm going to show exactly on what you said here about what happens with the third pool upon if upon death of maybe one insured. So I'm going to do a case study in a second, but here's another couples comparison, and this is just 5 years each, takes out the shared benefit, and we still play very well with that, even without the shared care, because there are people that maybe they just want to just 5 years each. Moving ahead, and I'm not going to dive too deep into these, but I would say the second place, the second best sweet spot, are females applying individually. So here are our comparisons. The same ones. Well, actually, it's a little bit different. 3 years, 6,000 a month. 3% compound inflation. Single females, and these do not take into account the 5% partner discount. So if these, for example, the 60-year-old female shown here, if she happens to have a husband at home, but for whatever reason the husband's not applying, the rate is going to be 5% less than the 48.97 shown here. So again, when stacked up against the other players in the market, looking really good. And again, a single female, right? Especially if there may be a widow and don't have a built-in care support system, that single female may really want and is maybe appropriate to have first day coverage for home care. Well, like Angie said, for a long time, producers were really shy to show that first day coverage rider because, my God, it added 25% to the premium and, equated to, actual premium dollars. There was significant sticker shock with that, but no more. So again, the 0-day EP rider, I think, is going to be especially attractive for single females. And then here's another one, a more robust plan at 5 years to show that we're still doing pretty good. Um,
Kudos to you, Mike, for showing a single female because we know, I mean, you and I look at all of the statistics, but I mean, single females, they're your most expensive proposition. I mean, National Guardian could have came out here and showed you single male, and these rates would have been screaming great. I mean, kudos for you guys being bold enough and to price some points here on these single females because yeah, they're not usually the ones that get the better pricing.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you for that. And you're absolutely right. And then finally, probably our third, we're okay as far as men applying individually, single men applying. We still look good, but we're not the number one in all cells that you'll see. So, again, that's the 3 year, 6,000 a month. There's the same thing, but with the, 0-day elimination period rider for home care. It's actually remarkable for single males how uniform the pricing is through the big three traditional carriers here. And there we go for a 5 year. Um, Now, to take some of the things we just spoke about into an actual, a quick little true life case study example, I thought I'd just go over it. I'm not going to just read this verbatim. I'm going to talk about a very typical long-term care couple here that, again, this is very, especially, and this was, designed to be for someone perhaps in the Midwest. All right. So let's take Bill and Marie, right? They're both 61 years old. And Bill, let's say he just recently retired and he has his new boat and he loves hanging out on his boat. That's what he does. Marie still works part-time as a teacher's aide, but they have two girls. They're both in their 30s. They're moved out. They both have their own kids. They live close by. They're really living, the American dream, right? Bill has worked his whole life and finally he's retired, and he has a new boat. What could be better? Good thing is their health is relatively good. Bill had a hip replacement a few years ago and takes a lot of the customary medications that most people his age take. But and Marie has a few aches and pains. But you know what? They're both healthy and they have a great life. Now, attitude-wise, and I'm sure many of you can relate to this. When you're talking to a husband and a wife, a couple, about long-term care planning, who's usually the driving force? behind the decision to buy, or the driving force behind even looking into it. It's going to be the wife, right? Because women know what it's like to be a caregiver. They're the driving force behind this. And that's what the deal here is with this case study, right? So, due to Marie's parents and the experience they went through with her parents, right? Bill's in laws, Marie is saying, Bill, we're at the age now that we absolutely have to get long-term care insurance, some sort of plan. And I'm going to put you in charge of doing the research for that, but you better do it, Bill. So Bill says, "Of course, honey. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna research long-term care insurance, and I'm gonna start with my best friend, Ed. Ed is really smart. He's my fishing buddy, and I'm just gonna ask him because he's an expert on everything, right? So he asked his buddy Ed. He said, "Oh, you know what, Ed? Marie asked me to look into long-term care insurance, and I just can only imagine that it's super expensive. And listen, I'm not really into paying premiums for this. I just want to keep her happy. What do you know about long-term care insurance?" And then Ed, right, Bill's friend says, "Bill, I looked into this. I asked my advisor about this, and he told me that the premiums would be like 20,000 a year, right? Um, or I could pay it all in one shot, but I'm gonna have to give him 200,000, and that's what I was told. So no, boy, be prepared." So of course, Bill says, "All right, thanks. That was my research." He goes back to Marie and says, "Marie, no go. You're right. We're not paying that sort of money for your long-term care insurance." But Marie comes back and says, "Well, you know what? Penny, my best friend, she and her husband just bought a very affordable policy that's not even close to that." So Ed's like, "Oh, really? All right." So he has to go out and do his little more in-depth research beyond his fishing buddy. And guess what? Guess what he came across? Found someone who was talking about NGL, and gave him what he wanted. And what he wanted was a meaningful plan. And just like Angie said earlier, meaningful doesn't mean that it has to cover every penny of a nursing home cost, right? Meaningful is the ability to manage, especially a home care event, rather than let that event manage you, right? So anyway, what he wanted was a meaningful plan at an affordable price that covers them both. Now, Bill, that his main thing was, "I want this to be sustainable, right? I'm concerned about the cost." And in the back of Bill's head, he's not still 100% convinced he'll even need care in the future, right? He's hoping he's just going to die of a heart attack on the golf course or on his boat. But he loves his wife, wants to keep her happy. So what they did was buy the go-to plan, right? 3 years, 4,500 a month, with that third pool, compound 3% inflation, and first day coverage for home care. What really did it for Bill, or what one thing that Bill really liked, was the built-in spousal waiver of premium. Marie really liked the first day coverage for home care, meaning if, because, based on what happened with her parents, how awful it was, especially at the outset when her own mother needed care. But what really did it for Bill was this, right? So with that shared benefit amount rider, Bill really liked that if he were to pass away, right, without ever needing care, which, to an extent, Bill can't even visualize himself needing care, but that's the way a lot of especially husbands are. They're just like, "Listen, I just can't bring myself to think about that. I'm more concerned about my wife." But get this, if he were to pass away without ever needing care, his 3-year pool would, go away. But Marie is left not only with her own pool, but she's left with the third pool as well. Basically, stacked on top of each other, that's a 6-year plan left for Marie. Um, and her ongoing premium is reduced. And in this example, it's reduced down to about 5,300 a year. Whereas the overall premium, as you can see right there, started out as at 6681 per year. Again, for what he thought and what his initial research showed, that was reverse sticker shock. So again, this is the type of, I'd say, consumer that we're really taking a look at here with this Honest LTC product. All right, to close things out, and then I'll open it up for any questions and comments. But I did want to urge you all to take a look at and you could do illustrations and quotes for Honest LTC now. And the best way to do that is with our quick and easy quick quote website. Right now, the address for that is right down below. In fact, we can send out this PowerPoint to you as well that has all this. But the quick quote software is great because, at least personally, what do I like about it most? No user ID, no password. Just save it to your favorites and start quoting away. And the output is one page and really easy to understand. And what's really cool is how they, visually explain that third pool of money for couples. As you can see on the screen there, you'll see on the top right, you see three pools: his, hers, and then the shared benefit. And then right below it, the premium amount, and then the leveraging, the current leveraging, then the leveraging at age 85, given all the inflation increases. So it's a great tool. I urge you all to check it out. And of course, I do want to mention the unique story with NGL as it relates to traditional long-term care insurance. This is actually NGL's 10th anniversary in long-term care insurance, right? NGL debuted long-term care in 2016, but which is actually, very late in the long-term care game, because as many of the bulk of there's a lot of people that, these old books of business from these carriers. And again, there were over in the early 90s, there were over 100 carriers in long-term care insurance and traditional long-term care insurance. Yet those carriers, because there wasn't really a whole body of experience from which to base the pricing, a lot of that pricing in the early days of this product was based on guesswork, right? A part of that was, I wonder how many people are going to lapse. Well, it's probably going to be the same as term life insurance. So probably, I'm guessing, 10 to 15% of the people with traditional long-term care insurance will just eventually lapse and drop their policy. So let's take that into account. Well, guess what? Turned out that's not the case. There was a learning curve, and a big part of that learning curve is that we realized that that as an industry, less than 1% of the people lapse long-term care insurance. In fact, the exact statistic is 0.6%. So from the get-go, because the pricing of this product was based on actual true actuarial, and experience data, from the get-go, this product is assumed a 0% lapse rate. In addition, this product was always assumed that from the get-go, this product was going to be priced and evolve in a low interest rate environment, which no one saw possible back in the early 90s with all those older books of business. So bottom line is, NGL has never had a rate increase on in-force business, nor do we anticipate doing so, as that we have no legacy risk pools to manage. Additionally, and I think this is a very important piece in looking at any insurance product, and if any of you are in California and have earthquake insurance, this is probably old hat for you. But the risk-based capital percentage with NGL as of November of last year was 615%, which is very, very strong. All right, so I did want to mention just a couple things about NGL as a carrier and how it relates to long-term care insurance. And then finally, just a couple of tips and pointers for you. And, I do realize that, talking to people about long-term care insurance, about long-term care planning, rather, it can be tough, right? People, especially when you have people who are healthy and you have to, kind of explain to them that, listen, this may just happen to you. And, but one thing, and the reason we're talking to people about long term care planning is because we're living older and older, right? Uh, but rather than just talking about lifespan, we should really be talking about health span because that's just as important. And that's been in the news lately. You can just Google health span or health span versus lifespan, and you'll see that health span is very important. That's defined as the number of years you could expect to live. Uh, on a very healthy basis without a bunch of chronic conditions piling up and leading your way of life to be somewhat compromised. So I think, the message has always been clear, and especially with long-term care insurance, right? Your good health is what buys long-term care insurance. Money just pays the premium, right? You have two types of currency, your health currency, and then, regular money. But I think we should be educating people, more consumers, that hey, the real age should be about 64 or even 63 because on average the chronic conditions are going to start piling up by the time you turn age 64, and that's so health span versus lifespan, something we should be talking about. And then finally, just a couple pointers, and choose your words carefully when you're talking about words do matter quite a bit when you're talking about this subject with people. Listen, I've been in long-term care insurance since 1991. I've been in my whole career, and a lot of my good friends, my lifelong friends, still call me Mike, the nursing home insurance guy. Drives me nuts because it's not nursing home insurance. It really is stay-at-home insurance. So, I really, don't call it nursing home insurance. We shouldn't be talking about nursing homes. People want to stay at home. Additionally, I find we all use imagery that is not exactly, very positive, or, in fact, it's downright depressing. And this isn't, a subject that people are jumping out of their chairs to talk about anyway. So, talking about, hey, you're going to become old and sick and frail, you're going to need medical care. No, come on. That's not how to talk about frailty and becoming old and sick. Listen, like I said earlier with your health span, hey, it's a natural part of aging is chronic conditions pile up. And when that happens, your health becomes compromised and you need assistance. That's it. I think that's a very a better way to talk about needing care. And then finally, and I know that Angie alluded to this too. Too often, I find ourselves, showing, the Cadillac of all Cadillacs of long-term care plans, right? 5% compound inflation, $12,000 a month, and then you put them into reverse sticker shock, and then you wind up taking away benefits to make it affordable. You know what? I think it's a lot better rather than saying, hey, well, something is better than nothing. Let me take this away. And, what we have is, what is still better than what it could have been. I think it makes a lot of sense from the get go to talk about, hey, with long term care planning, a little goes a long way, which is true, right? I mean, for those of you that have been a caregiver, for someone, especially in the home, or have tried to, keep a loved one out of a facility, you know what? $3,000, $4,000 a month. If someone would have given me that when I was taking care of my grandmother, saying, here's $3,000 a month out of a third party checkbook, would that help manage the situation? Absolutely. $4,000 would have changed my life at the time. So, I don't think we should scoff at, $3,000, $3,500, $4,000 a month in benefits, because a little does go a long way. And then finally, I think a really good power question to ask people, because no matter how they answer it, you're going to have a path to a very successful conversation is this. So, what's your plan for when your health changes? That's it, right? And see how they answer that. Even if they say, "Well, what do you mean?" Right? I think that is, the number one power question we can all ask our clients as it relates to long-term care. And with that, thank you so much. A little under an hour here. So if you have any questions, Angie, please, please go ahead.
Yes, this has been fantastic. I have to tell you, Mike, hard to believe 26 years ago when I embraced and started in this industry, our average issue age was really young. Oh, well, no, it was really, really older, right? And
Right.
so
Yeah.
now that we start thinking about this, this just popped in my head. I love the health span. And 64 years of age, everybody can relate to adding a pill or more pills to manage chronic health conditions. And we've all watched our family age. Most folks, don't just drop dead, right? We get sick along the way. Well, what's that magical birthday at 65? Right? So everyone's talking about Medicare at that point, whether they're going to continue working, but you think about their health span, right? So what we're looking at here is mortality versus morbidity, and our morbidity bites us a little sooner than I think most people would anticipate. This just also leads very beautifully into plant the seed, have the conversation when the folks are in their early 50s, start bringing that up. I promise you, financial advisors, if they're not being that total, complete fiduciary and kind of rounding out how insurance fits in the equation, they should. And if they're not, they're pairing with someone that they can refer that to. This just lends the conversation to planning when your health changes is perfect for this. I could not be more excited about Honest LTC. And for all of you that are, you've got people sitting on the fence, you wanted to look at the essential, you've only got this week. This week is the last week to get any essential apps in. But with that, anybody that's written Essential LTC up to, going backwards to May of last year, we want to bring them over, if you will, convert them to Honest LTC, you can certainly look at doing that. So, Mike, this was really, really fantastic. Wonderful changes. I've had some requests in the Q&A. I will get the information out to you so that you'll get a copy of the replay. We'll also post it. The link I'm going to be sending to a couple of you for the quote that you wanted to see without having to, have a registration and a login. That's another really nice touch. I'll get out all of that out to you so that you have that information. If you would like to reach out to me, of course, our number is 800-541-6705 or Angie at producersxl.com. Really looking forward to helping all of you with some of your potential clients and customers and prospects that need to start planning, right? They got to start planning, and it's best to plan young. So, Mike, appreciate your time. Thank you for doing this. And thank you all for joining us. And have a great week.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.